Welcome back to the Lean Lionhearted podcast. I'm your host, AJ Quimson, IFBB Pro, and I'm here with one of my friends, Dario, who is the owner of Train Origin out in the Bay Area, California, which is a gym that specializes in powerlifting. He's also a former, well, maybe current powerlifter, former NPC bodybuilder, competed in Ben's Physique a few times, and also we went to high school together. What's going on, man? How are you doing?
It's really good to be on the other side of the guest podcast and not have to do that whole intro spiel. It's great to just sit back and hear someone do that. Thank you.
Yeah, funny enough, I was on your podcast 7 years ago. Crazy.
Was it 7 years ago?
Yeah, because it was right after I turned pro and right after Mary and I started dating, which was in 2017. So that was August. Yeah, like August-ish, 2017.
That feels like 20 years ago, and it also feels like 2 years ago at the same time. Wow.
Yeah, it all kind of blends together once you start having kids, right?
Whew. I'm in the vacuum. We are in the vacuum, man. We're in it.
Well, that's what I wanted to jump off the podcast with. Is just you knowing you have a gym, you have kids, your kids are 3 and 1, right?
Yep.
Like it's different when you're just a fitness professional, you're single, or maybe you're just in a relationship. Everything changes when you have kids. So all that advice that you used to give to parents, now it's time to put up or shut up, right?
Yeah,
So like, what are 3 tips that you give to people, or maybe your clients, or you just have in general, for new parents or parents in general? 3 tips for parents to stay in great shape.
I feel like we have to just put this phrase in there. This is way too early parenting advice from someone that only has a 3-year-old. So just maybe we could title this way too early parenting advice, but on the health and fitness side, you gotta get it. I feel like I'm really trying to give people tactical advice these days. Do exactly this. And you have to get it in early, because at the end of the day, you are not going to have anything left to go do a workout. Time wise, they need you. Energy wise, you don't have it. You've spent it all. So you really have to go in and make that deposit for yourself early in the morning to get it in. Otherwise, I think with each hour that elapses throughout the day, your chances of getting in the gym probably dwindles by like 10%. So 10 hours later, if you wake up at 10 hours later, 7 p.m., you have basically 0% chance of working out. So you got to be a savage and get in there before all the little crazy people wake up. So I'm in there at like 5:20 and I'm out by 6:20. I'm out of the shower by 6:30, and that's about when the tiny crazy people are waking up and need my attention.
Yeah, it's like the saying, if you have to eat a frog, you do it first thing in the morning. If you have to eat 2 frogs, you eat the biggest one first.
Exactly.
So I think, do you know that quote?
I've never heard that before, but I agree wholeheartedly. Just get it over with.
I'm pretty sure it's
to.
Mark Twain. Yeah, but it's at least someone told me it was Mark Twain. But yeah, basically it's, if you got to do something that you really don't want to do, you got to do it first thing in the morning. That's when you have the most focus, the most motivation to do it before everything starts piling on. The longer you drag it on, not only is the chance that you do it like less, like it's ruining the rest of your day thinking, oh shit, I still have to do this. I still have to do this. I still have to do this. And then by the time it comes, you don't do it. And then you're like, damn, I didn't even do it. And then you felt bad all day. And then you didn't even get it done.
Yep. So
what else?
I guess that's one. I owe you 2 more. The thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is, even though we talked before and I told you I'm hyper type A1, whatever you want to call it. I've become the master of pretty good. Send it. If you receive our newsletters, a lot of people reply and tell me that there are typos. I honestly don't care. I'm getting it out. I'm going to get better. There's going to be less typos in time. And getting your 85% workout in, eating 85% clean, if you do that consistently, it amounts to 100% of your potential. So I think a lot of people wait until, my schedule is going to open up, the job is going to be less busy, whatever. There's a million reasons to not do it, but we feel like we need to be 100%. I got to get fit before I come work out with you. I'm like, what? Why would you need to get fit before you come get help with your fitness? Just show up as you are. Messy hair, unmatching socks, whatever it is, show up as you are and get the workout in. 42 minutes was a workout, or 47 minutes was my Sunday workout. And I posted that to help encourage people that I think they'd be really surprised at how much time I don't spend in the gym. It's 47 to 57 minutes, 4 to 5 days a week, and that's it. So 85% somehow equals 100% is my tip number 2. If that makes any sense.
I mean, it's funny that you brought that up because a lot of people will say, "I'm going to lose weight before I go to the gym," but you're like, "But you go to the gym to lose weight. So when are you
How?
going to lose the weight if you're not going to the gym?" And I think it just ends up being people have imposter syndrome or they're insecure or they want to look good before they start, but I mean, the truth is, nobody looks good when they start. Name anything that you've done and you were amazing at it right away. And this also goes down to like programming. Like when you're making somebody's workouts, you know, the P90X, the muscle confusion. People are like, I need to switch my workouts all the time. It's like, all right, but you're not even good at what you're doing, right? Like people want to switch their workouts every 4 weeks, and you know, let's just say you have a 4 or 5 day split per week. You do it 4 times for the month. People are like, oh well, I did this workout. I did this workout routine for a month. I think I'm pretty much tapped out on my potential on it. It's like you've only done it 4 times. Name anything you've ever done in life when you were a master after 4 times of doing something. Probably nothing, unless you're just amazing at something, right?
Right, right.
And so it's like, you know, you got to start, and you're gonna suck. But the more you keep going, the better you get at it, and the better you get at it, then you're, you know, then all of a sudden you can give 100%.
It's a compound effect of confidence when you start seeing those results that you create for yourself.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah, I'm sure you get it all the time. You're like, when are we going to change my workout plan? My muscles need to be confused.
I tell people straight up, there are only about 20 good movements. There's really only 20. And anything we're doing to switch them is probably just out of pure, I don't want you to get super bored with them, but transparently, like there's only 20 things that we can do that are worthwhile doing.
Yeah, it's it is funny. Like, not to say that there's not cookie cutter programs, but at the end of the day, unless you're programming for like, you know, specific equipment that's available, or
Right.
injuries, or maybe like, you know, limb length, right? Like, you know, squats are not like barbell squats are not necessarily good for people that are taller than people that are shorter with longer limbs. But at the end of the day, like most people, you're not special. You know what I mean? Like the program that works for this person also will work for you. It just comes down to, can you execute and can you train hard enough without, you know, being stupid and throwing weight around and hurting yourself.
Another trainer math I like to give in addition to my 85 equals 100 is that if you just apply 100% to a program that's even 60% built for you or 60% effective, you're going to get 100% out of it. It's an effort in equation, and most programs aren't that terrible. And I know for sure I grabbed some early bodybuilding.com forums, like 2006, 7, 8 forum workouts, and they were garbage, but I applied 110%. Thus, I got 110% out of them. I have screenshots of some of them. Like, what? It said it was Arnold's workout. It was involving kettlebells, and like, I was like, Arnold never did any of this looking back. But you put 110% in, you put 100% in, like, you're going to find a way to get a lot out of that. So even if the program isn't perfect, it's up to the person, it's up to the driver, the operator to get what they need out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like sometimes I've had people sign up in the past and they're like, this workout's too easy. It's so basic. Right. I'm like, it's only as hard as you make it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like even if it just says, you know, 2 sets of 12 reps, right? If you go balls out for one of those sets, the second set should be pretty damn hard and you should be spent by the end. But if you're kind of dragging ass and you're trying to save yourself for some magical last set or something like that, you know, it's probably not that hard. But you can make it hard if you just train hard enough.
I tell people this all the time because I get a lot of clients that have injuries, they're general health and wellness clients. And I explain to them the value of exactly what you said and what you do, of bodybuilding. And they think it's one thing. They think of I don't know what they think of these days, but they think of some scary, large, bulky person or whatever. But the art of understanding how to use different muscles and the effort that you need to output to create a stimulus that changes your body, like that's bodybuilding. And it's more of an art and effort form than it is just this, oh, well, like I don't want to gain too much muscle type of thing. So I think you'd be proud at if you walk through one of our group classes, the way that the bodybuilding, the accessory part is being coached and performed. I would hope someone like you that's an expert in it, a professional actually in it, would walk by our class and nod at like, oh yeah, the way that they are teaching to lightly grip your row so you don't overactivate your forearms and you can feel your lats better is like in line with a pure authentic bodybuilding style.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it literally is just those little tweaks, you know. Um, like if you squeeze the bar really hard, you're probably going to get engage a lot of forearms. And for the most part, whatever you start using a movement with, right? If you're doing like a row, if you start by using your bicep, you're probably going to finish with your bicep. So just like intentionality and these little tweaks are the things that make the difference between whether you're growing your lats or your biceps. You know, it's little stuff. It's not like there's these crazy movements that everybody, that the elite do that you don't do. It's all of the same boring things. It's just doing the boring things longer, more intensely, and more efficiently than you do it.
I actually talk about one of our training sessions together. Back when I was renting that yellow gym, we trained
Mm-hmm.
together. And I remember we were doing lateral raises and I grabbed like 15s. And I looked over at you and your big ass shoulders. I think you had 8s or 10s. And I like quietly put the 15s back, like, let me grab some 5s. So whenever I see somebody doing lateral raises in a class or personal training setting, I always encourage them to cut the weight like roughly in half. And I explained to them, I was working out next to my friend one time and my dumbass grabbed 15s. He had like 8s, 10s. It was no more than 12 pounds. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's how I should be doing that. And forever, I always like look out for that on that movement for sure. So like you're in my coaching at least once a month, if not once a week, when I see people do those.
That's awesome. I definitely remember that.
Yeah.
Like lateral raises are just one of those movements that, I mean, dumbbells, it doesn't really fit the strength curve of your delt very well. You know, I mean, it's heaviest when you're weakest and it's the lightest when you're the strong, part of the strongest. And people just like to throw stuff up. You know, there's just so much stuff that can move around in your shoulder. So being able to direct that tension to your shoulder, it takes a little bit more finesse and control. I know it seems cool to throw around 40s, but most people absolutely cannot throw 40s around.
Hang on. Can you explain that? What did you say? It's heaviest where you're weakest and run that
Yeah,
back.
yeah. So like if you think about a dumbbell, right? A dumbbell, it's it's weight, right? So the line of force is gravity. It's going straight down.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're at the bottom, when you're just holding the dumbbell like underneath your shoulder, the line of force is going through all of your joints. So you're not actually, there's no tension on your delt. And then the further along or the further out you go out to the side, it's anything is going to be heaviest when it's furthest away from your body. And then that's also when the dumbbell is heaviest to you, right? Because
Got
the
it.
line of force is straight down still, which makes it the heaviest up there versus down here. So I like to program cable lateral raises, but I put the cable at waist height. So that way, if you stand away from the machine, when the cable makes a right arm or a right angle with your arm, that's when it's going to be the
Mm-hmm.
heaviest. And so it loads that bottom portion where you never get any kind of tension with a dumbbell. And then as you come up, the angle slowly goes, gets smaller, right? Yeah, gets smaller. And
Yeah.
so more of the tension starts going through your joint. So it gets lighter at the top. And so it just fits the overall strength profile of your delt better. So you can train it more efficiently.
And then compared to a lower anchored, which is probably what most people would do, including myself,
Yeah.
the waist
So
height is better.
well, it's just different, right? So
Okay.
like if you put it at the bottom, it makes the right angle in the mid range. So that's still
Mm.
pretty good, because like in the middle is typically where you're probably like the strongest. So like I like to do either the bottom or the middle. If like I'll do it at waist height just to get that bottom portion where you're at the most lengthened, because that can force a lot of growth as well. Like because
Got it.
yeah, it's kind of like doing like a straight leg dead for your hamstrings. you're loading that lengthened portion of the movement versus the most contracted portion.
Got it. All right. I'm messing around with those. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So your first tip was, damn, I forgot already.
This is parent brain right here,
Yeah.
101. Early and often.
Oh yeah.
And
Do it
then
first thing in the morning. Second tip,
85.
85% is 100%. What's your third tip?
Oh, man. This is something I've been thinking about in my head as my children start to go out into different places and go to birthday parties, and they're just in the real world now. They're not in this environment where they just see me and my parents and my in-laws. They see a lot of other people, and they consume a lot of other people's food. So my mission that I'm kind of working on is redefining what it means for me. You don't have to agree or adopt this, listener, you, AJ, yourself, but redefining what it means to spoil your children.
Mm.
And how mine have been spoiled up to 3 and 1 years old is that pretty much every meal eaten inside my home, and most from my in-laws and my parents, have been home cooked meals. For when they were 1 year old, stopped eating like baby purees a little while ago, but for both of them up to, I think, what is that, 6 or 9 months, I don't know, feels like forever ago, but I blended and made and froze all of their food. So they
Mm.
never had store-bought food. Everything was fresh. Most of it was organic and made in our kitchen by me. So there was no preservatives, additives, or anything like that. So just giving them different type of knowledge and assets that I have access to. Might not have all the money asset, but I have this asset of knowledge and practical health application. And that's going to be one of the things that I hope, at least we'll see if they listen, but one of the things that I hope and can provide for them is that food, a healthy mindset, a healthy body, and healthy relationships. So that's where I'm hoping to, quote unquote, spoil them in those departments and just give them all the knowledge that I've accrued over the last X amount of years.
So
I feel like I got on the soapbox a little bit right there. I feel like it's so early to be talking about this with just a 3-year-old. So again, disclaimer, we should name this way too early parenting
yeah.
advice.
Yeah. So okay, so I get what you're saying. You're spoiling them by giving them basically ultra nutritious food. Not
Right.
taking them McDonald's and chicken nuggets. But I meant like, what are three tips that you have to stay in shape as a parent
Oh, as a
yourself?
parent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I think asking for help is super important, and knowing that you're
Okay.
not alone, because when you do ask for help, you realize you're not alone. It could be someone like you or I that you ask for help. It could be a friend that's a little bit ahead of you in the game. They don't even have to be a professional, but if they've bounced back from losing X amount of baby weight pounds, ask them. They probably have some good simple tips that you can apply. It doesn't have to be a hyper professional type of person. It can be, but just asking for help, joining Facebook support groups, talking to people about it. Because once you start to talk about it, you're going to realize that you're not the only one struggling with it. It becomes normalized, and it gets even easier to ask for more help, and your chances of success grow as you grow your network of people that are in this with you. So you kind of create your own circle, a sub circle, maybe not your normal friends you usually talk to, but you create a new network and circle of people that are aligned with this phase of your life and your new goals to get healthy.
Oh, I like that. Were you one of the first of your friends to have kids?
I think I was kind of in the middle. Like my one friend Mitch was definitely first. I was like in the middle, so I had seen a lot of people have kids and stuff like that, and then always working with the client group of 35 to 45 or 50. Even since I was in banking, I've had some cool insight and lots of experience working with people and hearing their stories and them sharing wisdom too. So I had that asset going into this as well.
Okay, so you already kind of knew where your community was going to come from for the most
Yeah,
part.
for sure, for sure. We created a little like dad chat with some of my remote training clients they're all parents, anywhere from 0 to 8 years old, I think is the oldest kid of a father in there. And sometimes it's group chat bullshit, but a lot of times it's like even like mental health support, gym
Yeah.
support. It really spans anything that parents are going through. It's a really cool group.
Yeah, it's that's something that I found is very important that most people overlook. And it's just having the community aspect or people that you can relate to along your journey. Like in fitness in general, as soon as you start, if you're starting and you're out of shape, presumably that's why you're like starting fitness, right? Most of your friends are probably not in good shape, because you usually hang around with people that are like you like to go out to eat and you like to drink. So everybody's out of shape. So the second that you decide that you want to be different, you're the weird one compared to your friends. So, the people that you would typically turn to be like, hey, like, uh, this is kind of weird. Like, how do you deal with, something like that, asking for advice? All of a sudden, like, they think you're the weirdo. They're the ones giving you a hard time, right? Like,
Yep.
if you usually go out to drink and hang out with your friends by going to a restaurant, and then all of a sudden you say, no, I don't do that. They're like, come on, bro, it's just one meal. Why not, dude? Like, just one drink. It's not gonna be a big deal. Come on, let's go. It's not. Come on, dude. You're being weak. Oh, you're different. You changed. And so you
Don't
get
be a
alienated from
bitch.
your own friend group. Yeah, you're a bitch.
Take a fucking shot. Take one shot. Come on. You're already fit
uh,
enough.
yeah. Yeah. So people miss that community aspect because it is lonely. Like fitness, when you first start, it's lonely for everybody. You don't have anyone to relate to talk to, unless you're on some sort of team or you're going to some sort of gym, or you go on like a forum back in the day, to
Yeah.
talk to people. So I really that, and I think that's one thing that's cool that I've seen in your gym. It seems like group training classes are that kind of thing for most people. Like they love the community vibe. So I try to create that with like, yeah, I have like a community group, but yeah, it's cool to see it. You guys look like you have fun over there.
That's really why we use powerlifting. It's not for everybody that we work with, but it's a way to change this whole fitness grind from hyper focused on losing fat all the time to just focusing on strength. And that's kind of like a sport. It's kind of fun. And you are always surprised at the amount of help random strangers at a meet or in the gym are willing to give you. And so anytime we can make something like the fitness journey a little bit more like a sport that you and I enjoyed growing up, that's all I'm trying to do with the powerlifting side. I want to show you this. This is my days since app. You can't see it, but I'm on day 294 of no alcohol. So
Ah,
talk about isolation and learning how to deal with that. And that was why I did it, because I know it's hard to ask people to do 45 days of no alcohol. And that's what we do a lot here. Like that's a simple thing that we could do to get a lot of results. So we ask people to do it a lot. And 45 days to someone might be like a year for them. So I'm just going to do a year. And hopefully through this experience, I'm going to bring back some tips and tricks on how to navigate Christmas, birthday parties. I'm going on a bachelor party in like a month, navigating all of these things without consuming alcohol. And at first I did get all of those pushback, passive aggressive comments.
mhm.
And we can go more into that if you like, but we could just leave it there too. But now I'm really confident in going to events and handling those rebuttals, and then being social and present and still having fun at them, because it wasn't fun at first. And now I'm back to like, I'm looking forward to going to this event. I'm not worried about drinking at all. I'm just have a couple Diet Cokes or whatever, get a little caffeine buzz. That's my thing. And I'm
Mhm.
still going to have just as good of a time as when I was drinking. Now I'll go back at the end of, it's like December 26th is a year for me. And, but forever my relationship with the substance has changed. And that was my goal going in, like change the relationship so I don't need it at an event, but I can enjoy it at will.
Yeah, that's cool. That's exactly the way I see food and dieting. Like in the beginning, like you said, everyone's like, "Oh, you're a bitch." Like, come on, just do it one time. It's not going to matter. No one's going to know. I'm not going to tell anybody, right? But you know, it's also half of your fear of being alienated and being isolated and being different from everybody. And obviously, like you want to do it too, right? So like it's always a perfect storm of peer pressure from the outside, and then you're pressured on the inside because you actually want to do it, but you know your goals are telling you not to do it. But it eventually goes away. It's only in the beginning. Like once you make it past that hump of, everyone calling you bitch and you're like, oh fuck, I'm missing out. If you actually go and you hang out and you're not just food focused or, alcohol focused, you're like, I can have a good time. I mean, like my relationships with my friends is not dependent on whether I'm drunk or not, or whether I'm eating the same food as you. It's because we're friends and I like you,
Right.
And I think once you realize that, you're like, oh, okay, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal.
After one drink, nobody cares about you anyways.
Yeah, exactly. You care about everybody else because by the time they're smashed, you're like, God, you guys are so annoying. But
that's a whole different ball game. But yeah, I mean, that's a theme that we work through a lot in the gym, right? Is like everybody's looking at me like, no, actually, we're all just trying to survive this workout as well, and nobody's really looking at you. If anything, at least here, they're looking at you for inspiration, believe it or not. But nobody's really looking at you.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the truth. Like anybody who is even moderately nice is not judging you for being in the gym,
Right.
because you're out of shape or because you look like you don't know what you're doing or whatever, right? Like I mean, the assholes will always be assholes. There will be assholes everywhere, no matter what, like you can't avoid that. But for the most part, most people, I mean, they could care less,
Yeah.
and especially people that, like when I was bodybuilding specifically, I know that, I'm like bigger than everybody. It's a little bit intimidating to a degree, or you just want to look and, it's all whatever. Right. But I think a lot of people would assume that I was a jerk because I look like a meathead and, all that kind of stuff. But I would look around and get motivated by some of the people in the gym. Like I saw guys that they looked like they were 70, 80, 90 years old walking, going with a walker, and they're doing back, they're doing lat pull downs on the machines and stuff. And I was like, damn, dude, I hope when I'm 90, I have the energy and the mobility to be able to still work out and still do, and, still keep myself active, So it's like, or, if you're someone that's trying to get in shape, anybody who's super into fitness has probably been very out of shape. They've either been really small or they were really fat. That's why you get driven by the insecurities to be different and to be in shape. And so when you see someone that's out of shape or is new, you're like, I remember when I was like that. It's cool. Like you're trying. I respect the hustle. The reason
Yeah.
most people usually don't talk to you is because most people don't like getting unsolicited advice.
That's a whole different conversation. But
Yeah.
that's what people don't understand about maybe someone like you. They look at the finished product and they're looking at their day one and they're comparing it to your day, I don't know, 36,000.
Yeah.
And, their day one might actually be better than your day one. Your day one was not awesome. You were like a chubby Filipino kid, right? Like
Yeah.
when we used to play basketball, you're like just normal ass chubby looking Filipino kid. They might not even realize their day one is actually better than your starting point was because of the unlimited resources we have in the world today to find health access. So it's like, you never know where someone started. Your day one is your day one. That's all it is. And looking at anybody's finished product is just not going to help you. And also, if you ask someone like you that we might perceive as a finished product, it's always that person that's going to tell you like 10 things that they want to fix about themselves, their health or whatever. So it's like we're never finished, and any reasonable person that's even in amazing shape is going to have a lot of compassion for you and where you're at in the journey. So again, raise your hand, ask for help, and you might be surprised at the amount of even free help you'll get.
Yeah. Most people love to give advice to someone that they can relate to,
Right.
So like in the
Right.
gym, if you're out of shape and I've been out of shape before and you ask me for help, as long as you ask it in a respectable way and you're not like demanding advice, like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Like, tell me right now, obviously that's going to rub people the wrong way. But
Right.
if you, if you approach people nicely and you're like, hey, you look like you're really in shape or whatever, I was just wondering, like, am I doing these right? They'll tell you, if they know the answer, they'll tell you. Or I mean, even if they don't know the answer, they'll probably pretend like they know the answer and they'll still tell you.
Yeah. People are more good than they are bad most of the time. So ask for help.
Yeah, 100%. So going back to the being the parent thing, right? Like it's different when you're trying to stay in shape as a fitness professional. There's like a pressure for you to uphold that, right? Like I know that you're very similar to me in that you want to lead by example. You don't want to be the fat dude saying like, "Hey, do this to lose weight." It's like, but what about you? You know?
Right. Right.
And obviously you can understand that it's going to be hard having kids and being able to stay in shape, but like what were some of the more eye-opening or shocking challenges that came with having a kid and trying to, still be in shape and healthy and lead by example?
I think maybe 6 to 8 months in from having our first son, Leo, I felt out of control of my weight for the first time in my life ever. I felt like I couldn't control the number I was seeing on the scale. And it didn't get up to anything crazy. I think it was 191. I probably went into it at 185, 186, but I didn't have the grip I used to have on that number. Sleep, when you're not sleeping right, nothing is going to go right on the scale. So like, that foundation that I usually lean on pretty hard was completely broken underneath me, and it felt like it was all crumbling down. And yeah, that was a huge challenge, like not being in control. And I think as much as I could empathize with parents, having worked with them for so long leading up to this experience, you don't know shit as a single non-kid having trainer. You don't know shit, man. You don't
Yeah.
know anything until
Yeah.
you have to get two kids ready and out the door on time, and yourself looking presentable to do a fucking podcast on a video. Like one of which just learned how to use a toilet for himself, and you have to help him with every part of that still. You don't know anything until you are actually in those shoes. So that was the challenge, just being out of control of my weight for the first time.
So you felt out of control because you realize like I'm not in control of what's going on. I'm at the mercy of my kids right now.
Yeah, yeah. Like all the pillars and foundations, they all came crumbling down once this little person enters your world. And it's just a part of it. Like it's a part
Mm.
of, it's like your parental baptism of sacrificing a lot of you and what you thought was you for this person. And it hits you hard and it hits you fast. And I could see how someone could just never get back to their health. Or a lot of people come to me and their kids are like 5 and 8 years old when they're starting to be in school for longer. So I can see how these 5, 8, 10 year gaps happen in parents' lives. I get it now. If I didn't have the X amount of years, 20 years practice, I might have fallen down that path too. So that was a huge learning experience in, I guess, more sympathy and empathy for and with parents.
So how did you feel, realizing that you're out of control, you're a
Yeah.
fitness professional, you own a gym, you're trying to lead by example. Like, I guess what was that moment like for you? Like what were you feeling in that moment?
I took a progress picture in my garage and I just saw, like you kind of have lower abs, but it spills over.
Mm.
I don't think I've ever had that before, except for when I was crazy bulking for powerlifting and I moved up to like almost 200 pounds. I'm at 187, like resting normal weight now. So other than that, I've never had that come back as feedback in a camera after I took a picture of myself. So like that was a uh-oh moment. But you just kind of like cut your eyes and you kind of like zoom your focus in and you go to work, because like one of the things that I want my two boys to see is like a man that takes care of himself and is able to do things physically. And like maybe, I kind of strive for, I don't feel like there's anything I can't do physically. Like moving a stackable washer or dryer by myself because I need to get behind it. Like can walk up to it. Like I think I can do this and I can do it without hurting myself. And there's just, that physical freedom is really important to me. And like to mirror that for them is really important to me. So there was the fuck this. I'm not going down this path because of my own selfish ambitions. And then there was also and also I have an even stronger why, because that's not what I want them to see. And it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be perfect. I don't need to look like I'm 3 weeks out, 24/7, 365, but there needs to be a strong effort behind those actions to uphold that standard.
That's awesome, man. So, so kind of going off of that, like that was my next question. Like, how do you stay motivated now? And I guess after feeling out of control and you feel like everything's crashing down, like, what did you do to get back in control? Or, I mean, do you still feel out of control and you're just like skating by?
No, I'm good now, man. I think more cerebrally, I started to remove my self-worth from what I look like and understand that my value to people that put their health in my hands is way more than just how I look. So, yeah, I'm always going to pursue that pretty hard, but that's not all I am. And then at the same time, what was also crashing down was my business was running without me, which was really weird. It's great, but the first time it's weird and great and insecure, but awesome because it's a real business. It's running without me because I took a solid 3 months off. And that whole identity crisis was also happening at the same time. So it was just a giant lesson in letting go of a lot of things because you need to make space for these children. You need to make space for your own health. And we just talked about this on our business social media. I think most people fail the health journey because they go in with a full pie and then they try to fit fitness in an already full pie. And we could do it for a while, but as soon as Thanksgiving hits, you're going to fall off. So really clearing my attachment to the success of the business, clearing needing to have my hands in everything in the business, which I'm super hands off now in a great way. I have great people that run it with the level of attention, respect, and care that I do. And that's the biggest blessing you could ever have as a business owner. So removing the need to be involved with everything, removing the need to be something that my clients aspire to be, and just working on being a great person for my family, being there for my family, being as rested as possible, kind of redefining what providing and spoiling, like we talked about, means, and starting to create this like framework as a parent, just like I have my health and fitness and my business frameworks. I have this new framework now of what it is to be successful in the gym for me, what my training needs to look like, simplifying goals, shortening my training sessions, and yeah, just completely like revamping my identity under this new role of being a parent.
Yeah, that's a pretty good goal and motivation. Like it's
You have
I
to.
said like there's two things that you said there that I want to touch on, and then one is just like it is very hard for people to, especially when you are so focused on something, whether it's business or sports or fitness, whatever. Like if you try really hard at something, part of your self-worth is tied to how successful you are at it, and the better you get, the more self-worth gets tied into that.
Man,
And when all of a sudden you have the kid and it's not just about that, or maybe you stop doing that sport or doing this thing, you're kind of like, well, who am I? And regardless of how cognizant of that you were, like when I was bodybuilding, I was like, I'm not just a bodybuilder. I would always say that. And then I stopped bodybuilding and I was like, holy shit, who am I? You know what I
you could
mean?
say
Like,
it, right? You could say it,
yeah.
but until that day, you don't know.
Yeah. And another thing that you said is that it's a great analogy is just trying to fit something into something that's already full. Right. And I think that a lot of people messed up there as well, just because they think that, hey, I already have my life. Let's add something onto it. But you've already given your 100%. There's something that has to be sacrificed to be able to fit this new thing in. You don't get all of a sudden a 25th hour in the day because you decide that you want to work out, right? Like you have to give something up, whether that's Netflix or sitting around on the couch for 3 hours when you're relaxing after work or whatever. Like it's gonna be hard. Like no one's saying it's not gonna be hard, but just conceptually you got to give something up to add something in. It doesn't work without doing that.
Go to settings, screen time on your phone. You'll figure out where you have time to work out. It's real easy.
Yeah.
It's real
And
easy to figure out what has to go.
yeah, and it's like you were saying before, right? Like 85% can be 100%. Like just
So
because you're starting to work out doesn't mean you need a full on gym, unless you're already like super trained. Like, then you probably need a gym. But like
yeah,
if you're someone that hasn't been working out for the last 2 years, You don't need a full gym. If you got a pair of adjustable dumbbells or maybe, 2, 3 kettlebells, you can get pretty damn far with just starting. I bet if you train, I mean, if someone pushed you one day with 15-pound dumbbells, you're not walking the next day. So it's less about the equipment that you have, how crazy your training program is, and it's just your willingness to add something in and put in the effort.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. That like 50% program, 100% effort. You can pull some bullshit off of YouTube and
Yeah.
you can get super fit, man. Like
You can
it's
go to
just
the
all
park
about
and start doing that bar star stuff and doing,
right.
doing pull-ups and yeah.
It's all about what, I mean, that's everything in life. It's whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. Right.
Yeah, man. Uh, but just a little bit of a backstory. I've always wondered, right? Like you used to be super into basketball when we were growing up. You were in basketball. You and your brother, you guys were the basketball guys, the bros, right?
He's
So,
way better than me. I was only allowed to play on those courts because I knew him. We'll just put that disclaimer in addition to the early parenting stuff.
but it seemed like you were like a basketball guy, and you went along the coach route anyway. So, what made you go for like lifting weights and being a bodybuilder and a power lifter over trying to be like a basketball coach, which is it seemed
Yeah.
like it was your first love.
So I think it really started, my lifting started through sports performance. I
Yeah.
was I was short until about junior year. Then I hit this like 6 inch growth spurt. I was all of a sudden I was this height. I was like 5'11", 6 foot, and I was like 140, 135 at most. And I kept getting pushed around on the soccer field, pick up basketball, pushed around. I was like, this sucks. This game is not even fun anymore because I can't compete. So we got like, you're the Kmart in San Mateo.
Oh yeah.
My parents bought us the bench press set from Kmart, the thin bar one.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing it very consistently, and there's dumbbells in the garage, or whatever. But I just started messing around in the garage and hitting a punching bag and bench pressing like every single day, like we all do, curls every day. Didn't touch a squat until like college, but I just started to see, even though it was a really crappy program, but I started to see results from it. So in soccer and basketball, I didn't get pushed around as much. In life, I walked a little bit taller. I filled out my clothes a little better. I was more confident talking to girls. Like it all, I realized that there was more to the lifting thing than just the sports performance. So like that was really my entry. And I like to tell people, like, I walked in the gym at 16, 17, whatever, and I still haven't left. And I still see myself as like the skinny kid that still needs to put on muscle. Like that's still what I see when I look in the mirror. And yeah, so the sports are like a testing ground for what training does for me. And
Oh,
that
okay.
still exists today in golf now. I'm learning how to train for an entirely new sport that requires so many different things. But also the foundation stuff that I know still works really well for that. So it's cool to have the beginner hat on, but with a solid foundation that, like strong always finds a way to contribute in a sport. Strong always finds its way on the floor to make an impact, whatever it is, individual sport. Like strong is always going to help you. It's never going to hurt you. So having that foundation now, when I get to work with youth clients, that I don't seek out a lot of them, but when I do, I can simplify it for them and be like, look, you don't need to do 55,000 jumping exercises. You jump enough in your sport. What you're going to do with me is get strong. I'm not going to run you through ladders and do all that bullshit. You can do that with your sports people. I am your strength coach, body and mind. Like, we're going to create a foundation for you to be strong physically and mentally. And then when you go to do your sports specific stuff, your ceiling is much higher because of your strength. Understand? Boom, we go to work. Or sometimes no boom. The parent's like, no, I want them running through ladders and pushing sleds. Well, like, that's not what I do. Sorry. I could probably find someone that'll give you that though. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but yeah, it wasn't always about, I'm looking forward to coaching sports if my kids get into it, but as an adult, it became more about using sports as a testing ground. It was just fun to go back and play soccer and basketball again after lifting weights for 5 years. I'm like, I'm actually better than this than I was in high school. And I played every single day in high school. Shit, if I would have known 5% of this back then, I would have played D1 in college.
It's always like that, isn't it?
Man,
I think about it all the time. Like, man, if I just knew this, I would be so
5%.
jacked and so ripped and so rich if I knew all this in the beginning.
So rich.
I'd
Should have bought
have
a
been before
house in
everybody.
2008, man. Instead of going to CSM, I should have bought a house.
Yeah. No, but I get what you're saying. Like, you initially were into sports and then you found this other thing that became a passion, and you're testing around like, hey, like your way of proving that it actually makes you better is by playing the sports. And you found it's, it's just like losing fat and like deciding like, okay, like I was out of shape. My goal is to lose fat and get on a bodybuilding stage. That was just like part of the goals and what kept me on top of it and like kept it urgent. And then all of a sudden you do that and you find a passion in it, and then you help other people do the same thing. It's just, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's cool because it translates into sports, which potentially, like if you're young enough, maybe you can go D1 and you can get a scholarship and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's always been my safe place. That's where I feel, that's where I'm most extroverted, is on a basketball court, a golf course, baseball, soccer. Like that's where I'm probably going to talk the most, is if we're doing something like that. Weight
Yeah.
room.
Just the
Otherwise,
competitive spirit, just being a bro, just like talking
yeah,
shit.
that's all I've ever known, man. It's just like I can hear my dad saying it, keep them in sports so they stay out of trouble. Keep them in sports so they
Yeah.
stay out of trouble. And that's what they did. And it created a cool framework for me to do what I do, and kind of a family culture where that's what we do.
Yeah. That's cool, man. One thing you said was you started lifting weights, no matter how bad it was, you still saw progress, and you started to walk around with a little bit more confidence with your head held high, your chest up, right? Do you feel like you got that confidence because of the way you looked at that point? Like, you looked better, or was it because of something else?
It was a look and feel. I think maybe to others, they maybe didn't even notice, but it was, for me, I could see, like, I was always super self-conscious about, this is funny, about my forearms. I had the skinniest forearms. On top of that, we were wearing 2XL shirts. So that combo was just really dumb in the first place. But skinny forearms, so I used to do a lot of like forearm curls to try to get like my forearms bulked up. This is a true story. Like in my room with the 10s and the 12s, like doing a shitload of forearm curls because I was
Yeah.
super self-conscious. But I think I looked a little bit better, and I just felt more solid.
Hmm.
Um, so I just like feeling more in your body, more control of your body, more solid. That whole like package made me walk chin up a little bit more, be a little more confident. Even like when talking to adults and teachers, raising my hand to speak, it really, like going to parties, it really brought me out of my shell slowly, but it did bring me out of my shell junior, senior year in high school. That was a big turning point for me.
Oh, that's dope, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was kind of getting at. I knew you were going to say that. Like, it's, it's not just the fact that you look better with fitness. It's the feeling of being in control. Because when you're not focusing on your fitness, like you are in control, but you're doing the bad thing. Like you're making yourself fat, or you're small or whatever. But when you see a little bit of change and you have that click where you're like, hey, I did that. I'm putting in the work. I'm doing this. I'm in control. I'm making my life go whatever way that I'm trying to make it right now. I think that is what gave the confidence more so than just looking. Because if you're like, oh, I look good, you can always compare yourself to somebody that looks better and say like, well, I don't really look that good.
Right.
But when you're like, hey, I'm taking my life somewhere, I'm going in a certain direction and I'm moving forward, it gives you just this confidence that you're like, hey, I'm in the driver's seat. I'm going to go wherever I want to.
I think the principle that it unlocked, I didn't realize it at the time, is that it's a growth mindset. You do this thing and you put time, you put effort, you get a result. And you begin to learn like, oh, I can do this anywhere. At my part-time job as a high school or college student in a subject matter that I quote unquote didn't think I was good at, I could put time and effort in and I can get a little bit better. I may not be like an A plus student in a certain subject all the time, but I can go from C plus to B plus with time and effort, and kind of using, again, the gym as a little testing ground, as a lab to get better at stuff, improve a skill, and then understand like, okay, I'm not awesome at this. for example, like the operations of running a business. I'm not awesome at this, but with time and effort, we can get a lot better. And now I think a lot of people ask me for help about business operations that are in the health and fitness space locally. And that's always like a mind fuck because I still kind of feel like I'm bad at it, but I've put a lot of time and a lot of effort into creating systems that allow our customers to have a good experience, our coaches to have a good life and career, and for me to have something that I'm proud to walk into every day.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because you're like, I feel like I'm bad at it until you talk to someone that's brand new and you
Woo!
say something and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And you're like, "Oh wait, that was pretty simple. I guess I'm not that bad, you know."
Until you see their operations in book and you're like, okay, all right. I remember this phase of the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing tax roulette every year, not knowing how much we were going to owe. I remember that.
Yeah, business stuff is fun. That's actually, I mean, dude, this is perfect. Perfect segue. I wanted to ask you, right? Like, what are some things that you wish people knew about owning and running a gym?
Don't do napkin math. Don't do members times dollars and think that so I don't know, maybe you're someone looking outside like, man, gym owner X is really doing well because I did X members times X sessions and it came out to this big giant number. Don't do that math because you don't know the expenses underneath, of which there are so many. So don't do napkin math if you're a consumer, and don't do it if you're looking to get into the business because it's one of those things that you're lucky to have 20. If you have 25% profit margin as a fitness business, you are absolutely killing it. So understanding that this is a low profit margin business going in, I think will give you the proper guiding light as to where to spend your energy to create a real business, not just a job that requires you to work 14 hours a day. Because you have to start there. You have to start with the 14-hour a day job situation. We all did. And those are some of the fondest days that I look back on for sure. But just knowing what this is, if you're looking to get into it, it is likely a 25 at best percent profit margin. If you're not screwing over your employees, it's 25% profit margin. So know that going into it, and that will help you have a guiding light for everything from your experience to customer expectations to how much you can spend to build the gym to what you can pay people, and this just the overall expectations for everybody to have within the building. They don't need to know your profit margin, but it helps you guide your energy, effort, and money asset, whatever, all your assets in the right direction.
Yeah, that's most
It ain't
people
sweet
would
out
never
here,
even
bro.
think of that stuff.
It ain't sweet out here.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
ain't
especially on
sweet.
the Bay Area. I know your rent's crazy.
It ain't sweet. I mean, our cleaner who comes in and cleans once a week, it's like $1,200 a month.
Hmm.
Like, it's just there's
It's
certain
crazy because
things.
it's probably something that your clients and your members don't even notice because it's like, oh, every time I walk in, it's clean. I don't, it's not a big deal, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah, man. It's just inflation is super real, but it's just and I think also something to know is that like you have to uphold that standard at least in this area. Most of suburban and urban big city California areas like you too, you're not just going up against the other small business gym owner. It's the Yelp search is going to include you, Equinox, and Barry's Boot Camp, which is like super high funded type of fitness businesses. So you got to find a way to add a ton of value to your people's lives inside and outside of the gym if you want to make it through that Google search, that Yelp search gauntlet of companies that have millions and billions of dollars to put into ads, equipment, um, the waterfall you see when you walk in the gym. For those type of places, if you want to compete with that, like, you have to create an amazing experience, and all you have to do to create that experience is just care more, which you likely do if you're a small business owner. You care more. That's why you're surviving, and that's why you can thrive. So you just have to lean into continuing to care more, and that's, I think, what we've built our model around here is finding the right people, employees that care more and that look at the big watered down way of doing it and are just absolutely disgusted by it and want no part of that. They want the pure, authentic experience for our customers.
Yeah, man. I mean, in the Bay Area specifically, it's an area that there's not a lot of gyms in general. And the fact that you've had yours up for what, like seven, eight
Almost seven.
years?
Yeah, almost 7 years. Yeah, 7 years.
Yeah, 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 because we did the podcast there, and I think I was at your opening thing.
You were.
Yeah, that
You
was a long
were.
time ago,
That's a
and
long ass time ago.
yeah, I know. Thinking about it now, that was a long time ago. But yeah, man, it's like you said, like if you go into the small business thinking that it like, hey, this is my way to get rich, you give up your 9 to 5 to work 9 to 9. It's like not the same thing. But
There's an end game, and I think we need to be more aware of the end game and have a goal to get to an end game instead of just working 9 to 9 forever. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I'm just saying like it's not just like sunshine and rainbows. Like it's a grind, and when you think it's just easy money because you're like, oh, I work for myself, and it takes way more than most people think to work for yourselves, not just from uh like the hours that you're putting in, but you got to be working on the right things. Like you have to learn more. You're not just the personal trainer in the gym, you're also the sales manager, you're also the general manager, you're the cleaning department, you're the
Yeah,
interior designer, like you're making everything. And you're like, dude, I don't even like half this stuff, but it's something that you have to learn to be able to run and own your own business.
working for yourself is not that awesome. The first 5 years, to be honest, because this is you talking to you, and neither one of yous has the answer to the question at hand. How do
Yeah.
we get more customers? You're talking to you in your own head, and nobody knows the answer. And it's just repeating that cycle of every single process, building website, you talking to you don't know. Creating great content, you talking to you don't know. And I think that's where earlier I said, just ask for help. If I would have asked for help sooner on all these things, we would have progressed faster. I don't regret the way I did anything, but all of that was a big lesson in learning what I'm good at, how to get better at it, like we talked about, but also just where your limits are, man. Like, I'm not going to be that good at this thing. Let me build a framework for a website and then hire out someone to finish it. Let me get the ball going on something and then find someone else that's better.
Yeah.
Event planning, I hate. We have a coach that absolutely loves it. She's amazing and she's happy to do it. So just letting go of a lot of things and you really like self-awareness and evaluating where are your time and efforts best put and try to get to that as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
And do that
That's
with everybody that's going to work for you. Like, what are they best at? Stop trying to fit the square pegs into the round holes. Like, you got to find a way to emphasize people's strong points. Work on the stuff they're not good at, but just understand that, if they're not good at X, maybe at best they're going to be a 65 out of 100 there. But if they can go be a 110 out of 100 somewhere else, like, go focus on that too.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because there's this fine line between not wanting to give up control of certain things and wanting to let go of the things that you hate as fast as possible, and giving that, when you pass off things without knowing how to do it, you give that person no direction. So they're basically set up to fail. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I gave you
Right.
no instructions on how to do this. I want you to do it the way I see it in my head, but you don't know what I want. And I haven't communicated what I want. And then it never works out. And then you just keep burning through people and shit never works out.
Learning to communicate how you want something done and having the courage to just tell people, this is how I need this done. Is because I used to be like, yeah, you're good at it, go do it. And then they bring it back. I'm like, this is shit. And it's only
Yeah.
shit because I didn't tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, getting to that point, and I think honestly having kids helped a lot. It's just like I don't have time to like dance around and feel self-conscious that I'm coaching you up. It's just like we have an agreement here that we are all going to be coachable. And if someone does something poorly, low effort, we're just gonna talk about it as soon as it happens. Like, hey, maybe it's my fault and I explained this to you, but I need this done differently here. XYZ. Person goes, cool, got it. It's in my inbox by the end of the day, and like that's the type of system we have now, and it's beautiful, man. getting like emails and Slack messages at all sorts of hours of the day of stuff getting done. It's so good, man. I can't thank the people that have trusted me with their careers in this building enough. It's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. I feel like coaching people for this long has given me a jump start on being able to, coach or raise my kid. I mean, not to mention I grew up with kids like my whole life, but like, just getting that almost immediate feedback with people. And obviously they've paid you money for your service. Like, you don't want to be a dickhead, but you have to have that fine line of, I'm going to hold you accountable versus I have to know like when to be a little bit more empathetic and back off and understanding. And I think that gives more of a jump start on knowing how to communicate with your kids without just being like, dude, just do it, I told you already. But like, you didn't tell them. Most people would never know that they never told them.
Right. Yeah. It's really removed a filter of fear that I used to have in providing coaching. Having kids has removed that for me. So that's been an added benefit that I did not expect.
Yeah, man. So last couple of questions. You posted about health needing EQ and IQ.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you meant by that and like what prompted you to post that in the first place?
Yeah. So I think I have a math brain. Like we've talked a lot of 85, 100, 50. I
I can
see
see that.
things chunked down into small pieces and numbers and efforts and pies and stuff like that. So the IQ is just knowing your numbers, like understanding I am X% body fat. I weigh this much. This much is fat. This much is muscle. And just understanding your math, your numbers, and then having a reasonable approach to fitness. For example, we invested in that in-body machine I was talking about 5 or 6 months ago because I think people were using, us included, we're using EQ only to try to coach health. And that leads to confusion everywhere. You're constantly making decisions based on emotion instead of facts and science. So we were high EQ, high, hey, let's get to know you, what's going on, but we weren't high enough IQ. I need to see when I implement these two changes to your life and you execute them, what is the outcome? And that's what we use InBody for. So 45 to 60-day periods, super simple coaching. Don't drink, don't consume added sugar, drink 80 to 100 ounces of water, drink a protein shake on your way out from the gym. Stupid, simple stuff. When Susie did that, she came back and scanned 45 days later, and she saw a +2.5 muscle gain and -2 fat loss. Great. We haven't touched macros. We haven't even talked about her eating really. We just made some simple changes. So now Susie knows, okay, I can lose weight. And it's not just because of my hormones, my age, whatever. It was just because I wasn't consistent enough. And now I know protein, workout, water, protein, workout, water. And now forever, Susie just automates that part of her life. So we kind of bought her time back and mental space back to pay attention to more detailed things like maybe how many total grams of protein are you eating would be the next thing that we measure. So it's a really calculated approach of IQ. What did we do? What did we get? Leave this in the plan. It worked. Throw this away. What did we do? And just repeating that. The EQ side is kind of also why we brought in the InBody, because this journey requires so much self awareness and getting to know yourself. Like, what do I do when I'm stressed? What habits do I have? For me, I'm pretty hungry when I get home. So sometimes I'll grab something. So like if we're gonna grab, we grab fruit now. And as soon as I get home, I try to cut up some type of fruit. And my oldest and I usually like snack on that while we're unpacking their bags and I'm getting their dinner ready. So there's like music playing and there's fruit. That's kind of my go-to when I'm in the kitchen when I get home. So that journey of self-awareness is the EQ that I'm talking about. And it's not always fun either. Just like owning a business, you're kind of like owning the business of your own health and owning your actions. It's not always fun to realize that you don't have awesome habits. You don't have an awesome stress response. You're spending 4.5 hours on Instagram, but also saying that you don't have time to work out. it's not fun to look at sometimes, but the journey, the path, the commitment of doing so is really worth it, because you arrive at a place of peace where, hey, I've done everything I could to be successful in business, to be successful in my health, to provide whatever I have to my children. And I am super at peace with the efforts I've put forth in those buckets. And I can shrug my shoulders at the outcome after that. They can still grow up to be shitheads, but I know that I tried to improve myself as a person and give them the lessons that I learned. And, that would be a tough one to shrug your shoulders at. But at some point you would have to, and be like, this is just life. Like, shit happens, and we don't always have control over everything, but we do have control and influence over our own actions. And as long as I'm doing my best there, and I'm giving myself space to reflect on how it's going, what I'm doing, making strong efforts, I could shrug my shoulders at, almost anything. The best example I can give you is that during the pandemic, we could have folded. And I wasn't terribly stressed about that, to be honest, because we had tried so hard. I spoke to the governor on a conference call.
I saw that.
Right. I mean, I did everything that I could. We did legal park workouts. We did illegal park workouts. We did legal outside of the gym workouts. Dude, you name it. And I tried it to continue to serve the health the way that I thought it needed to be served during that period of time. So if that would have been the end of Origin, I could have walked away from that dumpster fire pretty proud and happy, because my staff and I put 100% into that effort. And outside of that 100, there was nothing else we could have done. So that's kind of how I see life, is 100 in and you get no regret out. And regret is a pain that I want no part of. That's the pain that provoked me to get into this in the first place, is sitting at a Citibank desk in Los Altos where I was the assistant manager. And I just had to talk with myself one day, and like, man, if I don't do this or give this an honest 2 feet in try, I'm going to hate myself for the rest of my life. So it's just avoiding regret through effort.
Avoiding regret through effort. That's dope, man. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear your explanation on it, but it sounds pretty much like exactly the way that I think about things, actually. That's more elegantly explained with the EQ and the IQ thing. But yeah, I mean, the IQ is basically your tangibles, right? Obviously your weight, your waist size, the things that you need that are hard evidence. And then the EQ is like understanding that there's basics to fitness, calories, then macros, then maybe food quality, meal timing frequency, then supplements. Like, that's the nutritional hierarchy. And just understanding
Supplements
that
aren't first.
no, man. It's funny. People always ask me, like I've had, supplement sponsors throughout the last 10 years. And I'm always like, you don't need them. I can recommend stuff if you want,
Right.
but I'm not just going to push it just because, I'm with them. I'm not going to tell you like, take a pre-workout. If you don't want a pre-workout, you don't need it,
Right.
But yeah, like the EQ part is like understanding that is the hard science. Those are the things that's the structure that makes up a successful diet. And the EQ part is understanding like, this is the way that I prefer, maybe not the best way of saying it, but like I would prefer to live my life this way, or this is how my lifestyle is. What is the best style of dieting that's going to fit me? For some people, that's keto. That's rare though. It's rare.
Right.
For other people, that's understanding counting your macros and being flexible with your diet. And then some people, it's meal plan. Cause I have this lawyer in Chicago, and he just is efficient with his time. Obviously he has his own law firm. He has 2 kids. I think they're the same ages as your kids. Well, the youngest one's younger, but like, he's basically just like, whatever makes everything easier throughout the week, I'm going to do. But like, not everybody wants to live on a meal plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the EQ part is just understanding like, there's lots of ways for me to get there. Which way am I going to take? And which ways do I suck so that I can fix what do I suck at?
Yeah.
That's so.
Yeah. And on the IQ, the number stuff, I think a lot of people don't want to look at their numbers because they're bad, man. And for me, I was that way when it came to like, business finances for a long time. Like, I don't want to see it. at the end of the year, we play the aforementioned tax roulette. Just ship all the numbers to the accountant and cross your fingers. You know, I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know. I couldn't stand to look at it for a long time. So although I haven't felt that like IQ pushback in my health numbers for a long time, I felt that in different elements of my life of like, I don't want to see the numbers. They're so bad. And finally I came to a pain point where I found someone really good. And now like I see the numbers almost on a daily basis so that they can be managed and we can map actions to, again, like remove the fear and just make it more of A equals B or B equals C type of equation.
Yeah, I think most people can relate to that when they say they don't like weighing themselves.
Yeah,
But it's
and that
like,
was me with looking at like how much taxes we owed in Q2 of 2019 and all of those
yeah.
things. And it just led to finally, I was like, instead of not looking at it, we need to look at it every single day, every single month, every single quarter, and have a process and hire somebody to help me. That was my version of getting fit. Getting business fit was as hard for me as probably getting fit for other people, getting healthy fit and losing weight is for other people.
Yeah, I think people just don't understand the purpose of weighing themselves on the scale. Like you weigh yourself on the scale daily so that you can see how your body's affected by different things and then you can make adjustments based on what you're doing, right? So if you have the input, which is your diet, your training, your cardio, and then you get this output, which is whatever result you get, waist size, pictures, weight number, then you can make adjustments and say like, hey, this is working or this is not working, or maybe I'm not sleeping enough, or maybe my digestion's off. But if you don't know one side or even both sides, like you're just shooting in the dark and you're hoping and praying, and that usually is not going to go well because you wouldn't be in the position you're in if you could do that.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Last two questions, man. So Hall of Fame for best lives lived. Who's someone that you would put in there and why?
This is such a hard question. Somewhat recency bias because I watched the Bob Marley documentary recently.
Hmm.
And he, man, you know, super unfortunate that his life wasn't very long, but there are people that live to be 100 and whatever that aren't really remembered for anything, you know? And the way that he lived his life so devout and resolute to peace was really his mission. Peace amongst his people, his country that was so divided politically is kind of eventually what caused his death. Unfortunately, was political interference or whatever you want to call it. But he lived a life where he was trying to make the world such a better place for the place that he came from, and everywhere across the world too. So even though it was short lived, I think that's a Hall of Fame way to spend your short life if we're gonna have to have a short one. And like I said, he impacted more people in his, I don't even know how old he was. Age, quick Google search here. Oh, 36 years. That's as old as I am.
Damn.
So in his 36, he did more than most people would do in 36 lifetimes of 100 years. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think little recency bias because I just rewatched that doc. But if you're gonna go out, like that's the sword you want to go out on, right?
Yeah. That's pretty it's like that saying where everybody dies twice. The first time is when you physically die. The second time is the last time somebody says your name. And I don't see anybody not saying Bob Marley's name
Dude, he
anytime
was
soon.
just playing in the barbershop when I was in there last week, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going with Bob.
All right. All right. That's a good answer. I like it. So last thing, man, leave us off. What's your favorite quote? Or
Got
give me two or three favorite quotes if you can't pick one.
today's October 15th or 16th. It's mid-October
16.
2024, and I was journaling last night and I came across this quote. And it's not my goat quote, but I really like it right now. It's faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So having faith is confidence about our vision. And then it's assurance that the progress working underneath all the effort that we don't quite see yet is going to work, is how I translate that. And that's super pertinent to, and that's a super deep faith-based quote, but it also can be more easily and simply translated to the fitness journey, where you need to have faith that your effort is going to work. You can't have, even the best coach can't uphold you to keep faith when you are not feeling like this is going to work. So you need to create some type of framework of faith, whether it's just faith in my hard ass work, faith in the program. And then it helps give you assurance about the results that are yet to come, especially if you're someone that has never created results for yourself or is really far away from the result, creating period time of life. So I think having faith is in this health journey, business journey, parent journey, that it's all going to work out if we're, doing our job and we're doing good with our actions and time. I think that's going to give us all peace of mind through this challenging journey.
Yeah, that was a good one. I love that one.
It's hard to pick one quote, and I'm probably going to message you later with like 5 other ones I like, but this, like, literally last night that came to me. And I'm a sucker for something. I'm a sucker for a good definition. When something is clear and easy to understand, like faith is a kind of a floaty word, but putting it that way really helped me understand its place in this challenging journey of life, business, parenting, that I'm in right now, and how potentially it could help other people who just don't have the faith in their health and fitness efforts yet, but are willing to work and earn it over time.
That's awesome, man. Well, where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
I have a really exciting Instagram name. It's my first name _ last name, Dario _Tejo. And I honestly did that just so it's easy for people to find me. If you just Google search my name, you'll find Instagram page, LinkedIn. Maybe one day you'll find the SEO to this episode sometime soon, but my podcast, just quick Google search. I've made myself intentionally easy to find.
Dope, man. And then where's your gym if anyone wants to check it out?
We're in Belmont, California, which is solid, nice 20 minutes south of San Francisco and north of San Jose if you're in the Bay Area.
South of San Francisco. That's generous. It's 20 minutes.
20 minutes, no traffic.
All right. Well,
20 minutes, no traffic. 25.
On the very edge of the city, the last street that you can call
Sorry,
San Francisco.
like south from south, not South San Francisco, but like headed south from San Francisco if you're driving south.
Yeah.
Anywhere between an hour and 20 and 20-minute drive, depending on what time it is.
Oh, man. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you having you on. If you guys want to check him out, his links to everything are below, but we'll see you next time.